Safety officers play a critical role in ensuring that workplaces, job sites, and facilities follow safety regulations while protecting employees from hazards. They are the guardians of occupational health and safety standards, responsible for monitoring compliance, preventing accidents, and creating a safe environment for all. Because safety is both a legal requirement and a moral responsibility, organizations place high value on individuals who can proactively identify risks and implement effective control measures. When preparing for a safety officer interview, candidates must showcase not only their knowledge of regulations and safety standards but also their ability to communicate clearly, handle emergencies, and influence workplace culture. Employers are looking for professionals who can combine technical expertise with leadership, persuasion, and attention to detail. In other words, it's not just about knowing the safety rules, it's about applying them effectively, gaining buy-in from employees, and continuously improving safety performance. In this video, we'll go through common safety officer interview questions, along with model answers and tips to help you stand out during your interview. Question 1. Can you explain the role of a safety officer? Here's the answer. A safety officer is responsible for ensuring a safe and healthy work environment by identifying risks, implementing safety policies, conducting inspections, and training employees. I also act as a point of contact between management and workers to promote compliance with safety regulations and encourage a culture of safety awareness. Tip: keep your answer broad but highlight both compliance, legal side, and culture building, people side. Question 2. How do you conduct a workplace risk assessment? Here's the answer. I start by identifying potential hazards, such as physical risks, chemical exposure, or unsafe equipment. Then, I analyze the level of risk by assessing likelihood and severity. After that, I recommend control measures, like training, protective equipment, or engineering solutions, and document the process. Finally, I monitor outcomes to ensure risks are minimized effectively. Tip: show that you follow a systematic process. Identify, evaluate, control, and monitor. Question 3. What steps would you take if you noticed unsafe behavior on site? Here's the answer. I would address the issue immediately but professionally. For example, if I saw someone not wearing protective gear, I'd stop the unsafe act, explain why it's important, and provide corrective guidance. Later, I'd review whether additional training or communication is needed to prevent repeat behavior. Tip: interviewers want to see that you act quickly but also educate instead of blaming. Question 4. How do you stay updated on safety regulations and industry standards? Here's the answer. I keep myself updated by attending safety seminars, subscribing to occupational health and safety newsletters, and following regulatory bodies like OSHA. I also participate in workplace safety audits, which help me stay current with practical applications of regulations. Tip: employers want lifelong learners. Show that you are proactive in staying current. Question 5. What would you do in case of a fire emergency at the workplace? Here's the answer. In a fire emergency, my first step is to ensure the safety of people by initiating evacuation procedures. I would sound the alarm, guide employees to safe assembly points, and ensure no one is left behind. Once everyone is safe, I would coordinate with emergency services and document the incident for investigation. Tip: stress that people's safety is always the first priority before property or reporting. Question 6. How do you train employees on safety procedures? Here's the answer. I use a mix of methods, presentations, demonstrations, posters, and practical drills. For example, I conduct fire drills to simulate real scenarios and use interactive workshops to make safety engaging. Training is ongoing, not a one-time event, so I schedule refreshers regularly. Tip: highlight your ability to make training practical, engaging, and continuous. Question 7. How do you investigate workplace accidents? Here's the answer. I follow a structured investigation process. First, I secure the accident scene and provide medical aid if needed. Then, I collect evidence, interview witnesses, and analyze the root cause. Finally, I recommend corrective actions to prevent recurrence and prepare a detailed report for management. Tip: show that you're methodical and focus on prevention, not just documentation. Question 8. How do you encourage employees to follow safety protocols? Here's the answer. I believe in creating a safety culture where employees feel responsible for their own safety and their colleagues. I use positive reinforcement, open communication, and recognition programs to encourage compliance. When employees understand that safety protects them, not just the company, they are more motivated to follow protocols. Tip: show that you can influence behavior, not just enforce rules. Question 9. Can you explain the difference between hazard and risk? Here's the answer. A hazard is anything that has the potential to cause harm. For example, a chemical substance or exposed wiring. Risk, on the other hand, is the probability that the hazard will actually cause harm, considering both likelihood and severity. As a safety officer, I manage risks by controlling hazards effectively. Tip: keep it simple but clear, as this is a common conceptual question. Question 10. How do you handle resistance from employees who don't take safety seriously? Here's the answer. I handle resistance by first listening to their concerns and then explaining the importance of safety with real examples. For instance, if someone refuses PPE, I remind them of incidents where lack of PPE caused injuries. If the behavior persists, I escalate it according to company policy. Tip: balance empathy with firmness. Show that you educate first but enforce when needed. Question 11. What experience do you have with safety audits? Here's the answer. I have conducted internal safety audits where I inspected equipment, checked compliance with safety procedures, and reviewed documentation. I also prepared corrective action plans and followed up on improvements. Audits are not just about finding faults, they're about identifying opportunities for improvement. Tip: stress both compliance and continuous improvement. Question 12. How do you handle high-pressure situations during emergencies? Here's the answer. I stay calm and follow established emergency protocols. In emergencies, panic can cause more harm, so I focus on clear communication and immediate safety measures. For example, during a gas leak drill, I directed employees calmly to safe zones while coordinating with emergency services. Tip: highlight composure, communication, and adherence to procedure. Question 13. What safety KPIs would you track to measure effectiveness? Here's the answer. I track key metrics like incident frequency rate, near-miss reports, training participation, and corrective actions closed. These indicators show not only how many accidents occur but also how proactive we are in preventing them. Tip: use a mix of reactive, accidents, and proactive, near-miss, training, KPIs. Question 14. Why do you want to work as a safety officer at our organization? Here's the answer. I admire this organization's commitment to employee well-being, and I want to contribute my skills to strengthening its safety culture. I see safety as a shared responsibility, and I'm motivated to ensure every employee goes home safe at the end of the day. Tip: personalize this answer. Show you've researched the company's safety initiatives. Closing thoughts. A safety officer interview tests more than just knowledge of rules and procedures. It assesses your ability to influence people, respond under pressure, and foster a safety-first culture. By preparing structured answers, demonstrating practical experience, and showing strong communication, you can stand out as a candidate who is not only technically competent but also capable of leading workplace safety effectively. If you prepare thoroughly and answer with confidence, you'll position yourself as the right person to ensure safety, compliance, and care within any organization.